Hey y'all, welcome to practice. We're gonna do some restorative movement today. So lots of really long holds, yummy stretches, and feel good laying around essentially. If you have objects that resemble blocks, grab those, a blanket. If you don't have blocks, then something like a bolster. And if you have a sandbag, I want you to bring that. I know there might be like one or two of you with a proper yoga sandbag. Bring that. If you are not those one or two people, you might have a bag of rice in your house. You might have a weighted blanket, something that is that has weight to it, but is malleable in shape. So if you've got something like that, then bring that and I'll meet you on the ground. We're gonna start on our backs and have access to our two blocks. So go ahead and lie down, bring the blocks to frame your hips. And then we'll set up the blocks on the lowest setting underneath the low back. So you'll press your hips up, put the block on the lowest setting going horizontally, right? So I want it going the long ways across my low back. And then I'm gonna set the other one up on top of that if it fits. If you cannot get the block underneath your hips, I've had plenty of students who can't fit two blocks. Don't worry about it, just use one. If you end up with two underneath you and it feels horrible, I've met like one or two people that's the case for them, then only use one. If the two is really amazing and wonderful for you, then you might widen your arms out to the sides with your palms face up. You might even let your feet crawl slightly away from you and just close your eyes. Take 10 deep breaths. So you could spend like 10 minutes here. We won't today. You can start to step your feet in. Send one leg up towards the ceiling. And then have the other leg go up as well. So now you're in an elevated waterfall and you maybe just felt a change in the blood flow, maybe more blood rush to your head. And let that change in blood flow happen. These shapes are restorative or reformative, and they are meant to change our chemistry internally. So by having all of the blood rush towards the heart and the head, all of the blood drain away from the lower body, there's a therapeutic effect where we rebalance ourselves. In the tradition of Chinese medicine, our legs are considered or are related to the element of water, and they are that metaphor is used for our lower body. That's where our waters gather, and in our upper body you'll find our fire, and that's where the heart is centered, and through the arms that's what executes our fire. And when we have our feet elevated and our head and heart on the floor, we're able to take the cool waters from the lower body and bathe them in the fires of the upper body, reheating the waters, cooling us down in the places where maybe we got too hot. Go ahead and bend your knees, and then you can drop your feet down onto the floor. Remove both blocks. Let your hips land and your knees fall together. Feet nice and wide. Plant both hands onto your abdomen. Elbows wide. Take a few breaths of lifting your belly up into your hands and letting your belly drop down as your palms heavy on your abdomen. Blink your eyes open. Bring your arms into a cactus shape with your feet as wide as a mat. Send both knees off to the right side. And then identify in your body which is your right leg. Take your right ankle and put it on top of your left thigh. So it's the front foot on top of the back thigh. Look over your left shoulder. Take a few breaths here. Good. Go ahead and unhook the foot. Take both knees over to the other side. And this time you'll have your left ankle over top your right thigh. And you'll draw your gaze over your right shoulder. Maybe your eyes close. See if you can invite your breath into your abdomen. Unhook it. Draw yourself back through to the center. Let your low back press into the ground and maybe intentionally tuck your tail, knit your ribs in, and push your low back down, really gently engaging your core. Good. Go ahead and draw your knees in towards your chest. Give yourself a nice easy swing up into a seat. Grab your blanket and plant your blanket underneath your hips. And we'll set up for a double pigeon. So bring your left shin on the bottom. You can have your left heel nice and close to your right butt cheek for right now. And then take your right ankle and cross it over top the left thigh. So I want the heel in the center of my thigh, like laterally, right? So I don't necessarily need the heel forward and back center to my thigh, but I want it splitting my thigh in half. I'll have the heel somewhere near the knee. And if your knee feels like it's dropping really easily out to the side, you can bring the bottom heel in line with the knee so that your two shins stack over top one another. If that's not at all what's happening in your body, no worries. Keep the bottom heel in. It will help the top leg open. And you can either have your hands on the front leg or grab your blocks or objects that resemble blocks, put them out in front of you, and just start to lean forward. So it could be elbows coming down, could be hands coming down. For those of you that are a little bit more flexible or open, you might not have a blanket underneath you at all. If your two shins stack on top of each other and they're flat, then I would say a blanket might not be necessary. And see how low your head can drop. Soften your jaw. Relax the back of your neck. Allow your breath to be the most active part of this shape. Start to lift your chest. Swing the hands behind you. Uncross the ankles, knees. Take a couple windshield wipes if your hips feel or knees feel a little sticky. And we're just going to do the other side. So you'll bring the right shin on bottom. Maybe the heel starts nice and close to your hip. Have the heel of the top leg nice and far forward. So it's really close to the knee without any knee pain. Make sure that your hips are nice and rooted so you can even shift side to side and feel really substantial in the hips. And start to bring your hands forward. And start to lean forward. Maybe drop your head. And again, you root back into your breath. And start to pick your chest up. Move your blocks off to the side. Unhook the ankles and take maybe a couple windshield wipes. Really good. If you've got a blanket underneath you, go ahead and remove it off to the side. And if you have a sandbag or whatever you have that resembles a sandbag, I want us to use that here. We're going to come to lying on our backs and bring the sandbag, rice bag, whatever it is, something that's malleable with some weight, onto the front of your hips. If you'd like to bring a block to the back of your head, you can have your head elevated. Depending on what you need here, it can be nice to open up the back of the neck. Hands can rest on your hips, off to the side, but you're just laying on the floor with your pelvis being weighted down. And we'll be here for about 10 or 15 breaths together, but know that you can always just stay here. When I was teaching like 5 yoga classes in a day, this would be my practice for the day. 10 or 20 minutes laying on the floor with a blanket and a couple sandbags like this. And it's the embodiment of being grounded. Really using extra weight to root yourself down. And let your body become acquainted with what it means to be connected to the earth. And what does it mean to embody that quality? Stability, firmness. You might immediately notice that your belly feels more free to expand on the inhales and gets even softer on the exhales. Like I said, you can feel free to stay here. But if you know you have a day to move on with, then gently blink your eyes open, wiggle your fingers and your toes. You might take a big first thing in the morning stretch and remove a block if it was underneath your head. Gently guide yourself up. Give yourself a nice big pat on the back. Wonderful work. Restorative work is meant to restore your energy and focus on your life, feeling centered in yourself so that you are able to be present in your life. So please feel free to come back to this. There'll be more of this type of movement on this channel for you, some longer practices of this. It's a little bit harder, I think, online to make videos of just like laying around in poses, but that's a lot of what restorative work is holding a pose for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and just being in it. So feel free to put on some like really relaxing music and you can hold all of those shapes for 5 to 10 minutes. I appreciate you making it to the end of this video. Thank you for watching and maybe even practicing with me. And I hope you enjoy the rest of whatever day it is for you. I'll catch you real soon.